Do Black Lives Matter? Most certainly, for they are the pupil of the eye of humanity. Although most governments have abolished the laws of racial segregation, its practices continues, and the businesses still profit from discriminatory practices. In the face of those practices, it is difficult for vulnerable communities to fend for themselves because they are not appropriately represented in decision-making institutions. In addition, recovery after disasters is often much slower for people of color because they are less likely to have flood insurance, and relief efforts after disaster are not always just. For example, an analysis by a team at Stony Brook University shows that following Hurricane Harvey, Houston quickly switched water and electricity back on and emptied most emergency shelters. Meanwhile, several weeks after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, much of the island is still in survival mode. Both hurricane seasons expose close ties between severe weather events and social inequality. All are welcome to our gatherings. These inspirational gatherings, these devotionals are, the Master Abdu'l-Baha declares, the first visible and manifest establishment of the Lord, being so momentous a structure that even the act of laying but one brick for it, or one of the dependencies, a devotional, children's class, junior youth empowerment group, study circle, home visit, or service project, is like unto building a lofty edifice. All are welcome. He is the compassionate, the all-bountiful, O God, my God. Thou seest me, thou knowest me, thou art my haven and my refuge. None have I sought, nor any will I seek save thee. No path have I trodden, nor any will I tread, but the path of thy love. In the darksome night of despair, my eye turneth expectant and full of hope to the morn of thy boundless favor. The hour of dawn, my drooping soul is refreshed and strengthened in remembrance of thy beauty and perfection. These spiritual gatherings, these devotionals, are a symbol and a harbinger of the world order of Baha'u'llah. They are, in the words of the House of Justice, a beacon of light against the gloom of hatred and inequality. What prayer, quote, inspirational thoughts, song will you bring to our devotional, our inspirational gathering, Tuesdays, noon, Central Time? He whom the grace of thy mercy aideth, though he be but a drop, shall become the boundless ocean. And the merest atom which the outpourings of thy loving kindness assisteth shall shine even as the radiant star. Shelter under thy protection, O thou Spirit of purity. Thou who art the all-bountiful provider, this enthralled and kindled servant of thine. Aid him in this world of being, to remain steadfast and firm in thy love, and grant that this broken-winged bird attain a refuge and shelter in thy divine nest that abideth upon the celestial tree. Honoring all the children that did not come home. Verily with exceeding joy, with heart and soul, do these oppressed of thine offer themselves up for all mankind in every land. Thou seest them, O my Lord, weeping over the tears thy people shed, mourning the grief of thy children, condoling with humankind, suffering because of the calamities that beset all the denizens of the earth. The dialogue about missing and murdered First Nations women is important, for to build a community we all feel we belong in. It is a hard discussion and difficult one, even traumatic to hear. Our Aboriginal sisters have had to go through this trauma. We can learn how they deal with being traumatized and can draw on their strength. If it's too much to bear, you can mute everything for the duration of the next slide. As Penelope points out, making spirituality so visible in the National Inquiry is one of the things that makes it unique. That's still important. It's an inquiry. There are commissioners, witnesses, lawyers. Putting spirituality at the center of this National Inquiry allows us to work in a calmer atmosphere, rooted in cultural values that are thousands of years old. Incorporating indigenous ways of doing things has been critical to making the process of the inquiry, and not just the recommendations or the final report, as healing and as decolonizing as possible. One of thy handmaidens, O my Lord, has sought thy face, soared in the atmosphere of thy pleasure. Withhold not from her, O my Lord, the things thou didst ordain for the chosen ones among thy handmaidens. Enable her then to be so attracted by thine utterance that she will celebrate thy praise amongst them. Potent art thou to do what pleases thee. No God is there but thee, the Almighty, whose help is implored by all men. Inspirational gatherings and or devotionals are beginning to emerge, each one summoning all commoners to worship the one who is their creator, their sovereign Lord, the giver of light to the world, and galvanizing an entire people to reach for a more profound sense of unified purpose. Each reminds us of Abdu'l-Baha's assurance that 100,000 dawning places of the mention of God shall be reared in glory, dignity, and utmost majesty. Make a list of your friends and invite them to this devotional, or a devotional you begin. It is a gift from you to them. In the Kitabi-i-Aqdas, his Book of Laws, Baha'u'llah calls on the peoples of the world to build inspirational gatherings, devotionals throughout the lands, in the name of Him who is the Lord of all religions. Make them as perfect as is possible in the world of being, and adorn them with that which befitteth them, not with images or effigies. Then with radiance and joy celebrate therein the praise of your Lord, the most compassionate. Verily by His remembrance the eye is cheered, the heart is filled with light. The devotional you begin can be as simple as phoning a friend and sharing a prayer with them. They may be sick and need a healing prayer, struggling and need to share "Is there any remover of difficulties?" prayer. It's a gift from you to them. Abdu'l-Baha elaborates on the importance of this institution, inspirational gatherings, devotionals, referring to these dawning places of the mention of God as the lodestone of divine confirmations and the mighty foundation of the Lord, the firm pillar of the faith of God. In the same tablet, he states that the establishment of these inspirational gatherings, devotionals, is a means for the exaltation of the Word of God, and that the praise and glorification emanating from it cheereth the heart of every righteous soul. He thus exhorts the friends to be occupied therewith, with prayer and in the worship of God, the recitation of verses, the words of God, and the chanting of heavenly odes in glorification of the All-Merciful. How is the growing culture of worship and service contributing to the transformation of the lives of the people in your local area? Hope you can join us at noon Central Time